Hey everybody, Robert here from blackbeltgaming with you again, reading through Adventures Dark and Deep, first edition AD&D Expanded. We're in the magic using classes and we're at the Savant, and I am not familiar with this one. Required stats are Intelligence 14, Wisdom 12, Drow, Grey Elves, High Elves, Wood Elves, Forest Gnomes, Half-Drow, and Humans can all play this class. They get a D4, just like the other magic user and illusionist. I believe it's the same weapons proficiencies, dagger, dart, knife, sling, or staff are some of the options they can choose. No armor. It is a subclass of magic user specializing in knowledge, divination, and detection. At higher levels of knowledge, his knowledge of the arcane gives him significant prowess when dealing with creatures from other planes of existence. And he gets access to spells that are normally the sole province of clerics. Well, let's see. I think they advance about at the same rate maybe as the standard magic user does. But do they get the same kind of spells? I'm not sure. Let's see. Starting ability descriptors. They begin their careers with a level in scholarship, the occultism field. So we need to look at page 100 for details. And they may take additional levels in scholarship in any field for only 4,000 experience. That still seems like a lot. Well, let's take a look. What is scholarship? Base cost for most other classes or people is going to be 5,000 experience points or 8,000. Maybe 5,000 for intelligence focused classes and maybe 8,000 for all others. Really high. So this is the quintessential skill that sages possess, and a successful skill check might yield the exact answer that was sought, or at least the knowledge of where to go to get it. And for every skill level, the character is able to pick either a general field of knowledge or a specialty within an already taken field. So, botany, occultism. I think we saw occultism was what the Savant began with. So in there, we have alchemy, astrology, Dwarmercraft, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, medicine, metaphysics, planar physics. Okay. The chance of successfully answering a particular question depends on several factors. And the chance of success kind of is based on the nature of the question. So if it's a general question, that's going to be much easier than a very specialized question. So if it is easy, +2, medium +1, hard -5. And if it's a, wait a minute, no, this must be if you have a general, the general occultism in the field, then these are your modifiers. But if you are a specialist in the area from which the question is coming from, I think you get these bonuses. That's what that must be. So still, this skill system is a bit new to me, so I'm getting used to that also as I'm reading. Note that it is possible to have a negative base chance of success. Once the base chance is determined, the specific circumstances of the character's ability to investigate scholarly pursuits must be applied as modifiers. So here's some more adjustments to make. Intelligence score, you get +1 point to the roll per point above 14. If you have facilities, you can gain additional bonuses. And facilities can mean a library, laboratory, observatory, a workshop, a zoo, a greenhouse, or any combination of those. And the amount of time required to find a given answer depends on the nature of the question. Let's see if it says anything else up here. Time to answer. So if it's in your field of specialty and it's a general question, it really takes about 1 minute or so. And if it's a specific question in your specialty, it might take 1 to 10 hours. Or if it's a very precise question, it might take 2 to 12 days. So if it's just in the general field, those times going to range from 5 minutes all the way up to 3 to 18 days. And then if it's kind of outside of maybe falling within another field, 1 hour for a general question, 2 to 24 days for a specific, and a very precise question I don't think you can answer. All right, let's go back to the Savant. So we're back here. They begin in their careers with a level of scholarship. Occultism is the field. All right. So that occultism must be the specialty. No. There were other specialties within occultism, right? So this must be the general field of occultism. I think that's right. So spell casting ability, what can they do? Savants are able to cast spells as a result of their long and intense studies. And I'm wondering at the progression rate here if it's similar to magic user or if it's slower. I'm not sure. 1 first level spell, that's matching. Second level, 2 first level spells. I believe that's similar to the standard magic user class. And it looks like they've got access all the way up through 9th level spells. So they do have the minimum intelligence required. So to have access to 8th level spells, you need the 16 intelligence, and 9th level power level spells, you need an 18 intelligence. Spell books. They will typically begin with 2 standard spell books. One will contain cantrips. So this is very similar to what we've seen with the other magic user and subclass illusionist. And they don't begin the game with a traveling spell book. That's something they'll have to acquire and purchase later. So we still have these options to select these cantrips. Still don't really know if this is something you just choose what you want or if you need to roll. Probably if I were doing it, I might have them roll, just how a lot of things were done in AD&D back then. So if I needed a 3 to 6, I would get a die roll to come out with that result. The initial spell book, this is going to be the standard spell book, not the cantrip. Once again, they're going to have read Savant magic. So I guess they've got these because we had read illusionist magic in the other one. Maybe they have their own spells here. Informational spells is in the first category. So when you're choosing your 4 spells, well, you get read magic as your first one, but for the 3 others, you have informational, defensive, and miscellaneous. So informational spells might be detect evil, detect illusion, detect life, detect magic, identify, predict weather. Defensive spells are like invisibility to animals, protection from evil, wall of fog, and miscellaneous could be comprehend languages, light, message. For a second there, I thought it was light message, but no, it's light, like the light spell, and then message. Ventriloquism, and then the right spell. So let's see if there's anything else going up here with the Savant scroll use. Beginning at 5th level, they can read scrolls intended for magic users as if he were a magic user himself. At 7th level, he can read any clerical or illusionist spell. And at 9th level, he can read scrolls of the druid and mystic nature. The standard chances of spell failure apply, and there's an additional chance that the attempt to read can fail. So we've got some intelligence levels listed, and a chance, let's say if you're a bit more on the lower end of basically being genius, so we're talking like a 14 to 16 intelligence, you'll have a 10% chance of failing to understand a magic user or illusionist scroll. Clerical scrolls, I think the chance of failure might be a bit, is it higher or the same? I think it may start to match, but if you have a Savant Wisdom into 12 to 13 range, it looks like you might have a chance to fail to use the clerical scrolls. It might be at 20%, and the druid mystic might be at 25%. But I thought there was a minimum. What was the minimum intelligence for? I'll go back and check. At 7th level, they're able to inscribe magic scrolls, and at 13th level, they can create other magical items such as staves, rings, etc. And at 16th, those magical items are able to hold a permanent enchantment. Oh, that's what it was. I looked back. The minimum intelligence for this class is 14 intelligence. So that's why up here with the magic user scrolls, you've got the 14. And then it's wisdom. I totally scanned that too quickly. Thought it was intelligence. It's wisdom. You need a wisdom of 12 to be a savant. And that's why you have wisdom scores and being able to read and understand clerical scrolls. So if your wisdom score is down on the lower end for a savant being like 12, you might have a 20 to 25% chance of scroll use failure when using clerical or druid and mystic scrolls. So just at this first reading, I guess what I'm seeing is Savant is sort of an alternative wizard type. Spell progression is pretty similar, but I think the type of spells that they typically use, it's not really your fireballs and magic missiles and things like that. It's different, and you do get some, of that scholastic ability, that ability to understand different areas of academic knowledge and perhaps be able to help others come up with answers to their questions about this, that, and the other. And as far as crafting magical items, it was pretty similar to the magic user. Nearly identical, but I think maybe there was one level difference in there on one of the things I saw. But that's what it looks like. Could be interested to know how this would actually play for a character. I can certainly imagine a group wanting to consult or hire a savant to help them with some questions that they have, perhaps on their quest. But to actually play this as a character, I just wonder how it really just doesn't seem like a combat wizard. So, so yeah, just looking at their starting spells, there's definitely some useful things there, but they're not going to be there to really help you in combat, except maybe throw up some defensive spells, like, protection from evil or something. So kind of an interesting take. I'm very unfamiliar with this. Never really heard of this class. I don't know the origin of it, but it was interesting to read, and I'd be very curious how this played in a group, especially in something like a dungeon crawl. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. It looks like the Thief is up next.